I actually resigned from my position because I realized I was choosing Alberta. All roads lead to Sherwood Park.
As a person that grew up in Sherwood Park myself,
I grew up in Sherwood Park from age 4 to 24. I also have a way to make sure that there's affordable housing for people probably live and raise a family and have your kids grow up in a place that you've grown up and I've grown up, and it's a wonderful community.
not a lot of places, you can just walk around and not have to worry about your safety.
People have raised their families here and they want it to be, and even if their kids have moved away, they want it to be a place where their grandkids can visit. That we are going to make sure that in Alberta, you are going to get a good education. Because the truth is, I don't know what the future is going to hold. Everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about. I think we're really lucky in this country and in this province. We have a really reliable, strong democracy. Is that we don't want coal mining in the eastern slopes of the Rockies. Those companies are suing the province of Alberta, which means they're suing Albertans, and we're going to have to pay because of bad decision making and poor governance by the current government. Highest income levels in the country, and we're investing the least amount per student in our education system.
Wow, I didn't know that. Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long-Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa. Today, we have MLA for Sherwood Park and Shadow Minister for Municipal Affairs, Kyle Kasawski. We will discuss Sherwood Park and community life, municipal affairs and elections, and investing in K-12 education. Kyle is a strong leader. He is focused on fighting corruption amidst the political landscape right now, and he does his best to serve his community. He's a stand-up guy. He really does what is best for the community. This episode is packed with many helpful tips on how to be better a part of your community and how you can be involved in the importance of the municipal affairs and voting. It's fantastic. If you're from Sherwood Park, this is a must listen. Kyle has been a part of the community for a very long time, and he is very involved. And yeah, he's a stand-up guy. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome, Kyle Kasawski. Welcome to the Long-Term Podcast.
Welcome. Sorry. We should start again.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Kyle Kasawski.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So what makes Sherwood Park unique compared to other communities in Alberta, and how do you see its identity evolving in the future?
Yeah, I love that question. I always say all roads lead to Sherwood Park. It's something I think about, and as the MLA here, I get a chance to talk to a lot of people from the nonprofit sector, also from the municipality, and just people in the community. And what I've noticed about Sherwood Park that I think makes it special is that there's so much collaboration between different groups. So you might have the food bank and the Christmas Bureau are groups that they're not competing against each other. They're collaborating to try and make life better in Sherwood Park. I'll see that in the nonprofit. I'll see that in the service clubs. We have a food drive coming up for the food bank this weekend, and like the Elks Club, the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, they're all working together with Just Serve to make sure it's a successful food drive for the whole community. And so I think that kind of spirit of collaboration is really a big thing that makes Sherwood Park special. And I mean, we might back out to another point, which is that, Sherwood Park is in Strathcona County, and that is a specialized municipality. So maybe it's a special place just because it is a specialized municipality. And we have a collaboration, cooperation between urban and rural in Strathcona County, which I think is a good model for the whole province.
Yeah. As a person that grew up in Sherwood Park myself, I've migrated here from the Philippines the age of 9, and I've gone to the one in Y Road that used to be St. T's. Now it's New Horizons.
Yeah.
And going to middle school, and then the St. T's in the mall now, or across the mall.
Yep.
And then to ABJ, and now I'm at the U of A. But yeah, Sherwood Park's been very, very diverse in regards to kind of the urban and rural kids there too. There's people busing. There's the yellow bus that goes to their acreages.
Yeah.
Right, which is a great system they've got. Really brings all the kids who don't have that access to the main points to get their education, right? And you get to meet so many people.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Sherwood Park?
I did, and I like to tell you that because it reminded me of high school. So I was at Mills Haven, and then at Glen Allen, and then Sherwood Heights, and at Bev Facey. And in Bev Facey, that's really where it was kind of that melting pot where we had kids come from all over Strathcona County and even Fort Saskatchewan coming into high school. And I got to meet people from all over and just grew up in a different setting and a different place than I did. And that was really, really cool.
And what made you stay in Sherwood Park? And as you said, right, there are all these different communities coming together. There's all these different projects, and it's great. But there's other places too. There's BC, there's all the different provinces. What makes you choose even at Sherwood Park in Alberta?
Yeah, I mean, the choice of Alberta is a big part of like my life. Like I grew up in Sherwood Park from like age 4 to 24, and then like have moved around and lived in like Calgary, lived in Edmonton, lived in and worked in northern BC, worked in other parts of the world, and even looked at moving to Ontario one time for work. And really the job demanded that I probably should move to Ontario, but I actually, I actually resigned from my position because I realized I was choosing Alberta. There's so much going for Alberta that's amazing. I mean, we have a wonderful, beautiful environment. We've got resources here that allow us to like really sustain and have an amazing quality of life here. And so the people are amazing. The place is amazing. And so I kind of, maybe I'm a bit of a homer on this, but like I'm a huge fan of Alberta. And then at this point in my life, coming to Sherwood Park is still really great because like I've got family here, I've got a network here, and it's a community that I love. And so really in this role, I feel honored to be able to represent all of Sherwood Park on the decisions we make at the provincial level. And I just want to continue to make sure that this special place continues to grow and thrive in the future.
And how do sports and recreation programs contribute to building stronger connections in Sherwood Park?
Yeah. I think the quote from Plato, I think the philosopher, is that you can learn more about a person in an hour of play than you can in a year of conversation. And so sport has always been a part of my life, playing games. And I've always liked that experience of working together on a team. I played a lot of team sports and competing against other people in the spirit of good sportsmanship and fair play. And so the experience of connecting with each other, of competing against each other, learning about each other. I'm a big fan of sports, and it's a huge part of life in Sherwood Park. It's not necessarily like sports isn't for everybody, but I think that focus on health and in Sherwood Park is really obvious to me in our community. I even think it's kind of cool that the last 2 years of the Amazing Race, there's been someone on each team that grew up in Sherwood Park. So there's something that we're doing here that's right,
Yeah, it's growing up here. It's a big component to a lot of kids' lives. It's a big focus in a lot of the schools, and even after classes, there's kids that do dance, and there's so many opportunities to do extracurricular activities.
Yeah,
because you take that on with you till later on in life, and you save so much money in regards to your health and your mental well-being, and then you can serve your community better. Right, all just because of sports.
Yeah, and all those other activities. Like I've got family that's really involved in theater, and like all of that experience of connecting with each other, working with other people, collaborating with each other. I think that is a part of the spirit of Sherwood Park. There used to be a saying when I was growing up that if you wanted to get with someone that was, if you're going to hire someone that was going to be a good worker, you'd hire a farm kid, right?
Yeah.
And now I think if you want to hire someone that's going to be a good worker, hire a theater kid. Those people work so hard to produce a show, and they learn so much in that experience that I think carries with them for all of their life.
Yeah, I'm in a class. It's called like drama therapy. It's just like a little elective I'm taking for school right now. And there's a couple of drama majors, and the ability to just morph their faces into steals these different shapes, and
Yeah.
their ability to connect with people, and uh, even when it's not communication based, like you're just playing a game in class, uh, as you said, play can really connect you to
Yeah.
people. And in regards to sports, and in regards to theater, right? Interacting with the community, building something just holds us together and makes everybody, uh, all the relationships stronger, makes you feel in one, like a part of something greater than yourself.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finding some meaning there too.
Yeah, I love that. Uh, what do you think needs to be prioritized to keep Sherwood Park a vibrant and supportive community for families?
Well, I mean, if we go way out, I mean, we're living in a bit of a incoherent world where there's conflict kind of all around the world right now, and we're aware of it. I think, bringing it down to Sherwood Park, I think we've got to maintain a focus on trying to keep an affordable, vibrant, healthy way of life here. That means we have to probably also have a way to make sure that there's affordable housing for people, so that as you move through life, you can think of a place where you can probably live and raise a family and have your kids grow up in a place that you've grown up and I've grown up, and it's a wonderful community. And so I think that kind of focus on making sure you have affordable life and housing that's affordable is important, and that comes from having a strong economy. And so we're kind of also lucky that adjacent to Sherwood Park in Strathcona County, we have the Alberta Industrial Heartland, and there's a lot of opportunities there, and making sure that we continue to develop and grow that area so that there's good work and good jobs for people is going to be important too.
Yeah, you focus on the affordability of the houses. So when you have shelter, you can expand to be able to serve your community, find a job, and then get a car.
Yep.
Right. And I don't think Sherwood Park's really had a homeless problem. No, never.
We're lucky that way. Like
we're blessed.
The whole province has challenges that we have to deal with. And Sherwood Park has it, but we're pretty lucky that that the people have that ability to take care of the basic needs here.
Yeah, and it's very safe in the like walking at night. I just went for a walk at like 10 p.m.
Yeah,
and I'm so thankful to be a part of this community, because not a lot of places you can just walk around and not have to worry about your safety.
Yeah, and it's a great perspective to keep, because I think sometimes people lose sight of that. We have a really good way of life here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to, I don't know if I know for sure. I'm puzzled by that a little bit. I mean, this is a community that started as like a worker town for the Esso refinery in Refinery Row, and it's just kind of grown. And so somewhere in the forefathers and mothers of this town, there was just that spirit of community here that has stayed. And I think it comes back to those things I said. Like along the way, we learned to collaborate. We learn to work with each other. We have connection with community, and people want to stay here.
I'd also chime in that it might be like because it's a family-based community.
Yeah.
Like when you come to Sherwood Park, you don't come as a single guy. You come to raise a family. Like all the neighborhoods, it's usually just families there. We got so many schools here, and it's just there's so many playgrounds, right?
Sure, it's good for all stages of life. Like an interesting fact about Sherwood Park is that it's a little bit older than the average population of Alberta. So whereas the average population of Alberta might be 18% seniors, it's 20% in Sherwood Park. But people have raised their families here, and they want to be, and even if their kids have moved away, they want it to be a place where their grandkids can visit. And they've obviously found that it's a place where they are happy to grow old as well.
Yeah. No, I certainly want to raise my family here.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. What's your favorite part about Sherwood Park? Like, what's your go-to activities when you're not campaigning or when you're not at work? Yeah.
So with work is a big part of my life here. I like that there's a really vibrant thing. There's a lot of activities here. Like, for example, the curling club is something that has people from all ages that get to participate and stay active in the community. I really like the changes we're seeing here with like restaurants and activities that are we would associate more with the big city. But you're finding that in Sherwood Park, there's people that want to have a nice night out and an exciting night out, and they get to have it here. Festival Place has been a real anchor for this community, and so I'm really, really happy to see that if you want to get your entertainment or go out for a night, you've got some great options here in Sherwood Park. So I think for me, like getting to Festival Place from time to time is a big idea. Staying healthy with all of our bike trails is a big part, but also gardening. Been really lucky to be able to be a part of a community garden here, and so that keeps me out of the house once in a while when I'm not working. So, but yeah, I don't want to give some illusion that I have a lot of recreation time in previous parts of my life. Sports and kids were a big part of what I focused on, but now work is a big part of my focus. So maybe I'm not the best person to ask on what's the best thing to do in Sherwood Park.
Fair. Yeah, no, you gotta stop by I'm sure you've been to Millennium Place. It's great.
Yeah.
Like it's always, I've been going there for almost a decade now, and I have nothing but praise towards the facility, the community there, and the culture.
I should give a shout out to my gym, CrossFit Sherwood Park. I think that's a great place to go, and the reward at the end of the workout is coffee. So that's a nice place to go.
Nice. Have you been into CrossFit long?
Just a couple of years. My brother and sister-in-law are really into it, and they convinced me to get into it, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I heard it's intense. I've never done it myself, but I heard you really, really get a sweat in because you combine weightlifting and cardio. Right?
It's awesome. But I should be careful because if anyone from the gym is watching this, they'll ask me where I've been for the last few months.
Bring this guy back. Did you always want to be an MLA? Like when you were in high school, was this something that if you saw yourself today?
Yeah.
And you went to, which high school did you go to?
I went to Bev Facey.
Yeah. If like somebody came by from the future and went, hey, this is Kyle Kasawski, he's going to be the MLA for Sherwood Park, would you have believed him?
Probably not. Like, no? But like in that phase of my life in high school, like I was involved in the students council at Bev Facey, and so that was a really great way to serve. But when I got to university, I really had no interest in the idea of being an elected representative. And after university, what gave me like my greatest thrill and what I got a lot of passion from is business and being an entrepreneur. And so I worked a lot in the solar industry, and I kind of looked at that as the way I can change the world, improve the world is like at that. I used to say like one solar panel at a time. That was my focus. And then it was one roof at a time. And then it was one field of solar panels at a time. Yeah. So later on after that, I found a passion for teaching at NAIT. So there's an alternative energy technology program at NAIT. And for a few years, I was an instructor there, passing my knowledge on to the next generation of energy technologists that would come work out of there and work in the solar or wind industry. And really it was quite, this only the last few years that I was like, I think I'm gonna run. So that was, it was kind of a late arrival at this.
Was there like an epiphany? Did somebody like suggest it? Because often what I hear for people that do run for elections, usually some friends go, hey, you would make a great leader. And then another person says it, another person says it. And then it just plants a seed in your head and like, maybe I would.
I did have people encouraging me. Yeah. So that did definitely help. What really pushed me to it was I've seen, and you're seeing it across sort of North America and the world. There's this almost entertainment out of extreme positions in politics. And I think government should be relatively boring. I think it should be stable. I think it should be competent. It should be extremely ethical. And I think the people that are in this role that I'm in should hold strong to those values and, make sure we're talking to people from all perspectives before we make decisions. And a lot of the legislation I saw coming in, especially as it related to publicly funded education, really got me so that I was like, I think I need to run, because for me, publicly funded education is this the service we provide. I don't know if service is a better word, but it's this social contract we have that we are going to make sure that in Alberta, you are going to get a good education. Because the truth is, I don't know what the future is going to hold and what's going to come. And now there's all this focus on artificial intelligence. I do know that if kids growing up here get a good education, learn to think critically, learn to read and write and do math, all the basics, learn the history, get some experience where they make some, positive connections with other people. We're going to have a community here of smart people that are going to be able to deal with the future and whatever comes at us. And so I've always felt very strongly that we need to invest a lot in education, and we do it in Sherwood Park. We've got so many schools and so many good schools, from like the public school board, which includes like Strathcona Christian Academy, the Catholic school board, the Francophone school board. We even have, like, as you mentioned, New Horizons, great charter school. And there's a shift that's coming towards private education with tuition. And I'm opposed to it. And I had a job one time where I traveled across Canada, and I would meet high school students from all types of schools. And it was the first time I was ever exposed to kids that were going to private schools. Because in Alberta, we didn't have a culture of private schools where you paid tuition. And I want to make sure that we make publicly funded education the best option, so that that's where people choose to go, because it is the best option for their kids growing up in this province. And so that's kind of what drove me into this, and it's still my passion project.
Oh, that's phenomenal. This cliche quote of knowledge is power, right? When you equipped a community of basic health and awareness, how to manage your mental health, and exploring the solar system, right? Learning how to write, learning how to be professional, learning how to connect with friends. Because the public schools, not only do you learn, but you also you learn how to navigate relationships. You learn how to, okay, if that person doesn't like me, how do I go about it?
Yeah.
Do I get in a fist fight, or do I go about it professionally? Do I, you learn the quote, a friend to everyone is a friend to no one, right?
Right.
Like you can't be friends with everyone. And when you equipped a society with the proper knowledge, you will prosper, right? You will be happier, because you're your weakest link. When you have a family member that is addicted to something, that is, maybe mentally they aren't so stable. Of course, you're gonna be at work. You're gonna worry. When you're driving, that's gonna be in your minds. You're less able to focus.
Yeah. And
to expand that to a community level, when you have an individual who isn't educated, who doesn't have the finances to be able to afford education, because if it is privatized, then where would this person go?
Right.
Well, maybe they'll have to steal, right? Maybe it's come down to that, and maybe they'll have to, maybe it's a kid that's troubled, and so maybe they'll commit crime with their friends. So, and at the end of the day, it's the weakest link. So if we don't fix education, if we don't educate people, everyone, if nobody gets the basic necessity of education, then it's going to, later on, it's going to come back to bite us in the butt.
Well, and we miss opportunities. Like, it's a great equalizer, and you don't want it to be this economic barrier for people. The cure for cancer could be sitting in the mind of some poor kid who never has the opportunity to advance himself by learning. And that's a tragedy. So we should work to, I think, especially in a province like Alberta, we should work to make sure that everybody gets that opportunity to rise up with good education.
And how are you ensuring that we have public education? Because I know you said that there was a push for privatized education, right?
Right. It's a bit of a cultural push that I think is coming from a perspective that I try to understand. The interesting thing about my job is I talk a lot. I think a lot, I write a lot, I communicate a lot. So, advocating is my job in this case. And then when we bring bills for discussion into the legislature where we're making the laws that are going to be the laws for our province, it's my job to make sure that I'm bringing the perspective from Sherwood Park, which I think, as I was pretty open about this when I ran, this is the mandate I have. I feel really comfortable that this is supported by the majority of people in Sherwood Park.
Great. Yeah. You want to get people's opinions and thoughts, and based on those thoughts from Sherwood Park, you present it.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And just be the voice for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like it's tiring sometimes, right? Being like talking this much and being a leader, like how do you go about dealing with the turmoil? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that butt heads that want to argue with you. How do you go about staying calm and collected?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thing. Learning those coping skills to work with other people. Yeah, keep something in my mind. Like everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about, and so just treating each other as humans with decency is just an approach I think everyone should take, and I try to live with that and live by that. So I think one of the hardest things is people are very honest with me, and I'm honored by the stories they bring to me. And sometimes those stories are really hard to hear because there's been some sad, tough circumstances that a person's gone through, and they'll come to their elected representative to share that. And so that's often really where I need to sort of receive it, learn from it, absorb it, try and figure out how I can act on it for that person. And then sometimes I find out I don't know if there's much I can do. And, that's where you kind of got to do a reset, make sure I make connections with my friends and family, get to the gym once in a while, do those things that are good for your own mental health. But that's one of the greatest honors and almost one of the greatest challenges is that, people are going through struggles and they'll bring those struggles and challenges to me and my team. And that's part of the job. I knew it when I got into it. And whether or not I can help them I do my best. But sometimes you find out, you only are one part of the whole system. Yeah.
Yeah. And to everyone listening, I was actually at the NDP town hall. Was it a couple weeks back?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it turned out great. There's a lot of people that showed up. The entire room was packed.
Yeah.
But yes, there were people that spoke out about their struggles, and I bet you probably hear those stories every day, right?
Yeah.
It's probably really heavy, but you need to ensure that, hey, like you're trying your best, but sometimes you just got to listen, right? And take into account their problems and be aware of it and be cognizant and give them the knowledge that, okay, you are trying your best, that there is somebody fighting for them.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes people just need to know that I hear them and I believe them. And that's a really important thing too, right? Yeah.
Some people, it can be suffocating, right? Not knowing where to cast these thoughts, because it can be really, really heavy.
Yeah.
What do you see as the biggest challenges facing municipal elections, and how can transparency be improved?
I think we're really lucky in this country and in this province. We have a really reliable, strong democracy. When you cast a vote, you can be sure it's counted, and that it's counted once, and it's an honest and fair process for our democracy. And so that's an important thing. Having trust in our democracy is a high level of confidence that we have. I think the municipal election that's on right now is really kind of exciting. And it's an interesting time because you get to choose your local representative that's going to make decisions on land use in your community, on and that can be really important decisions like, are we going to build a recreation facility? Are we going to build another road? And those sort of choices that we have to make at a local level, those are really important choices. And those responsibility of council is really something I value. And so I'm excited for people to vote. So I want to make sure that people get out, have a chance to talk with those people that are running to represent them, ask them the questions that they want to ask them that are important to them, that'll make you decide who you want to choose to be your next council. And I think that something that's been going on is in this province, there has been a little bit of push from the provincial government to sort of push down on municipal councils. So it'll be interesting to see coming through this. Are you going to get mayors and councillors that want to stand up for your community and do right by your community. So I'm going to just say, I want to push people to really get engaged and involved in their voting for the municipal election that's going on in the province right now. And everybody gets to vote October 20th. So just keep that in mind.
October 20th.
October 20th.
Vote. Everyone listening right now, vote.
Yeah. We need lots of participation. Another thing we need to vote on is school trustees. So make sure that people, in my perspective, are looking to support publicly funded education and create a good system for our kids to grow up in. So that's going to be important as well. So mayors, councillors, school board trustees, look to who you want to vote for and definitely cast your vote.
Yeah, I'd say to an extent, like voting kind of locally, like when the provincial elections, like even the municipal elections, you leverage much more control. Because if you think about it, when you email the federal government, right, the chances of you getting an email back is very, very slim, right? Because they probably get millions, because people think that, when I can't afford these prices nearby, or I don't have this facility, I'm gonna email the federal government. And it's like, they care getting emails from all the other provinces.
Yeah.
But if you email kind of locally to the leaders nearby, like chances are like nobody's thinking about that, right? But you leverage so much control by keeping it local. What we can see, like you can actually go and talk to the leaders. People can talk to you.
And they have to live in the community. That's actually a rule in Alberta. You have to live in the community that you're going to represent municipally, which I think is really valuable, because, the decisions they make will impact them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the way I view it too is like within your family, like you can sway your family members much more than you can sway your friends, right? And the closer they are to your proximity, the better your chances of change. Yeah. And so, yes, when you do kind of become friends and when you do stuff for the community, okay, maybe you can branch out to the city and to the province. Okay. And if let's say you're like doing really well and you're helping out the community, then you can expand to other provinces, right? But if you see, if you see a dilemma that you're going through right now nearby, then it's great to talk to the local leaders.
Absolutely. And it's those things like your vision of like the place you live. What do you want to be like now in the future? What is it like now? How can we get there? Who has the best chance of helping us get to where we want to be in the future? Like in Sherwood Park, I know one of the big frustrations at Millennium Place is the lack of space for swimming lessons, which learning how to swim is like a life skill. And so you want to make sure that we're going to have those spaces for people to learn to swim in Sherwood Park. And so maybe that's your number one priority. Maybe there's a huge swim lobby in this municipal election, whatever it is. Maybe you want to make sure you have a space for seniors to go, connect with each other, work on their hobbies, or even volunteer in the community. And so those kind of things that can be created from a municipal government, I think, are important, and bring those up with those people running for this important job.
You mentioned that more swimming room is in high demand.
Yeah.
Well, what else?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sherwood Park's pretty lucky. The potholes are usually filled. We've got the bike path. So I think then the next thing is going to be growth, and you're going to maybe even look outside of your own street. Maybe even on your street, you're going to decide, what type of redevelopment might we have in some of the older communities. What type of development might we have on places where it's currently farmland? And those type of decisions might be important to you. But I don't know everybody's most important issue from a municipal government perspective. But I just know it's a really important election. All elections are. But on the municipal level, I think I highly value councillors and mayors and trustees in this province.
Millennium Place and Glen Allen and what else? Kinsman.
Yep.
What's the other one?
We got Emerald Hills. Yeah.
Yeah. Emerald. And that's a lot of the facilities that some like a lot of people don't know about. Or Ardrossan.
Yep.
That if you purchase one pass just from Millennium, then you get all the passes for all the other ones.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that. And so like raising awareness for that too is something that I'd say would be would be really, really helpful for people to going back to health and going back to sports.
Yeah, those things all make a difference for the place we're living in. So, and the way we connect with our community. Yeah.
Do you have like a vision for Sherwood Park, like 10 years down the road? Do you think that far in advance, or do you take it day by day?
No, I think about it, but I do, trust that's something that the mayor and council are really working on and making sure it's a livable place. I would love to see it being a place where there's even a few more head offices, that when you look as a business to set up, a head office, corporate office, you might be thinking, Sherwood Park's a great place because my the people on my team that work with us can live in and play in this community, and it's close to work. So I think those type of achievements might be interesting to see in the future. But yeah, I think broadly about the province though, and so like largely, I think we are that consideration of land use is something that always has to be on the mind of any elected official, whether it's municipal or provincially, because maybe the rules we made and decisions we made on land use were when we were a province with less than 1 million people, and now we're all over 5 million people in this province. So new pressures on land use, like for example, coal mining in the Rockies is something that has been brought up by this government, and companies are trying to come here, and it's been a tradition here for over 40 years that we don't mine the coal, the Rockies for coal mines in the eastern slopes. And those kind of land use decisions, I think, are important for the whole province, even in Sherwood Park. Even though we're not in the Rockies, even though we're not talking about coal mine here, I want to make sure that I'm bringing that perspective from Sherwood Park, which is that we don't want coal mining in the eastern slopes of the Rockies. And I hear that a lot in Sherwood Park. So those type of land use decisions for the whole province are things I want to make sure I can think about, so that in the future, why don't we have the water could get cleaner, the air could get cleaner in the future. It's not a given that everything is just going to get worse in the future. We can always have a better future.
Yeah, I love that. You seem very hopeful and optimistic.
Yeah,
and we
absolutely.
need that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in like a world where there's negativity is much more powerful, much more salient in people's minds. It's good to have that optimistic mind rather than just spouting all these negativity.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
In your role as Shadow Minister for Municipal Affairs, what measures would you like to see implemented to fight corruption?
Yeah, that's a big one. I've been surprised by some of the measures that have been put in place by the current government that have led to corruption in our provincial government, which is really unacceptable. So I think we could look at strengthening the role of the Auditor General, who really just kind of audits and reviews the books, but maybe give them some investigative powers to look a little deeper into contracts that are being made between the provincial government and, for example, we have a controversy right now and a bit of a scandal with contracted surgical facilities where the contracts have potentially been bloated, and people are taking more money than they should be getting for doing the services the government has contracted out. I think we should strengthen the role of the ethics commissioner in the province. And I think one of the things we should do is put guardrails on gifts for elected officials like myself. I shouldn't be in this for myself. I should be in this trying to find out, how do I serve the people of Alberta the best, not how does this system serve me the best. And limits on gifts should be a part of it. It should not be that if someone takes me to a hockey game, that I give them a favorable decision to help their business. That's not how this system should work. And so I think to make sure we have guardrails on gifts, maybe strengthening the Auditor General and maybe the Ethics Commissioner having some more power would be good.
When you say gifts, like sponsorships or like...
No, I mean like going on trips or going to Skybox games
rewards for doing this favor.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey,
if you want to have a conversation with me about a business and the regulations in this province that impact your business, we should meet in a boardroom on the public record. It should not be some cartoonish scenario where you take me on a trip and then all of a sudden you get the regulations to support your business. That's not how our province should be. And I think when people believe that's happening or perceive it's happening, then they lose confidence in the system. And there's a lot going on in this world. It's like an incoherent world with a lot of challenges. Making it so that people have confidence in their provincial government because they know it's ethical, competent people running it is really important.
It can be tough as a leader because once you start and you get recognition from the people and you start shaking more hands, and as you go up, you meet all these successful businesses, these top moguls, these business owners who have an incentive to make profit. And to be able to make profit, they need some certain regulations in place on maybe some tariffs, right? Or maybe some land that they need to purchase. And then maybe they'll sneak something under the table, right? To make sure you're happy. And that can really, really screw with people's minds. And when you're the leader, right? Oh, but it's for my family, it's for this. But then, you start making justifications for yourself. How do you go about kind of maintaining headstrong or when you are tested amidst these?
Yeah, well, I think you got to come back and stay true to your own values and the reason you got into this. And just remember, you're in a role. And sometimes it's the role that people are paying attention to, not the person. And so I keep that in mind. And I think going to voters with a mandate and then using that mandate to govern is really important. And I'll come back to coal mining again, because the last election, the election before, nobody was talking about coal mining on the eastern slopes of the Rockies. It's a beautiful part of our province. It's a very vulnerable and fragile environment that really can't handle a lot of industrial disturbance like you would have from a coal mine. And nobody was talking about it during the election. And then after the election, then all of a sudden the government was like, "Hey, we're going to open up coal mining," and everyone was surprised. Nobody heard about it during the election.
Nobody mentioned this.
Nobody gave some notice. They didn't go out and say, "Hey, we'd like to think about this. What do you get some feedback and then maybe make some decisions?" And so, I think making sure, always wanting to involve more people in decisions to get their ideas is really important. And so, if you've got a new idea and it wasn't something you campaigned on, then do a consultative period where and maybe months long, where you say, "Let's, this is an idea we have. It's going to be pretty different than what we talked about. What do you think?" And there are ways to get people in this world have lots of opportunity to get their feedback to their government and their elected officials in a very public and open way. And I think the more transparent and open you are, the better. I kind of go through my whole time in this thinking that every conversation I have could be recorded like this one is. And so things I hear, things I say, I think you have to be accountable for that.
Yeah, sweet. But yeah, you mentioned coal mines, and I know you're big on the environment.
Yeah,
you were in solar, right? So even that, actually, this is a solar family. We got solar panels.
Yeah, you got a hardworking solar roof, not some lazy roof that's keeping the rain out.
We got those 8 panels there.
Yeah, awesome.
My dad set them up a couple of years back.
Yep.
And he's like, "Yeah, don't turn the washing machine on. Don't do anything unless the sun is out." No, really. I bet you solar powered laundry feels better when you put it on. Yeah, I guess I don't really fully understand because he's the one that's preaching solar, and now I'm kind of just getting the residual beliefs. But go solar. Well, I'm pretty energy aware. I think there's a high energy intelligence in this province. There's lots of forms of energy, and solar really, to me, it's an energy efficiency. So it's a way that's going to lower your use of energy from the grid, and that's just a value. And it's good, clean energy that's good for this planet. So, we need to just make sure we have the opportunity for things like solar power to compete in this province. Yeah. And to contrast that, you mentioned coal mining before. Why is it so detrimental or so negative towards the environment? Well, and we kind of get focused on the now, but if you think historically, when, let's say, you think of a place like London, where they were heating everything with coal, and the air in the community, in the city,
was sickening. It made people sick.
It's like the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah. And then you've even seen a transformation where China had a lot of coal and is getting themselves off coal. And part of that is just making sure that you have clean air and clean water for the people living there. Because really, when we think about industrial advancement, we want to make sure that we're not doing it at the expense of a good, healthy life in the place where we're living. So coal power and coal-fired power is generally, a dirty kind of power that doesn't, it pollutes the air and it pollutes the water. There's also a need for coal for creating steel. So, we get really high-end coal that and by that it means it's a really hard rock that will be used for creating metals, metallurgical coal, they call it. And there's abundant supplies of it in British Columbia and other parts of the world. What happens when you have that kind of coal mining is almost a certainty that you are going to pollute the water that is near the mine with selenium. And a little bit of selenium occurs naturally in the environment, but too much kills the fish, poisons the water downstream for farming. It can be absorbed in plants. It can be absorbed and brought into the food system through our animal livestock. And so we really need to be thoughtful about water because it's a scarce resource, good, clean drinking water that you can use for our lives and for our agriculture. You need to make sure you preserve and protect that. And a coal mine is a certainty that you will not only transform the landscape, which has a value in itself for its beauty, but you are going to poison the water. And so it's just in Alberta. We've known about this for a long time. And so back at the time when Peter Lougheed was the premier, that government said, we know about this. We're not going to allow any coal mining, open pit coal mining in the eastern slopes. And so it's been a bit of a surprise to know that the provincial government said, well, let's open that up again and let's have a discussion. What's so interesting about that is there's immediate pushback from, traditionally conservative voters, ranchers, farmers, landowners who do not want this and have stood up strong against it. And so the government actually flip-flopped. They said, well, let's have some coal mining. A lot of coal mining companies came in, set up, put their stakes down and started exploration. And then the government reversed on that and said, no more coal mining. Very quickly, except for one coal mine, which is a longer story we don't have time for on this podcast. Yeah. Those companies are suing the province of Alberta, which means they're suing Albertans, and we're going to have to pay because of bad decision-making and poor governance by the current government. And one company has already settled for $143 million, and there's 5 other companies that need to settle. It's going to cost us billions of dollars that we're just going to have to pay because these companies came in when the laws changed to let coal mining in. And then months later, when the laws changed to not let coal mining in, they had already made financial commitments and had spent money in our province. So too bad. A long story. It's not good. And I think we are going to pay because it's more important to protect that environment. It's probably the most important thing here. And we've had things like in this province, the government's brought in political parties to municipal elections, back to that. And it wasn't something anybody was asking for. And sometimes that leads to, negative consequences and unintended consequences when you don't have thoughtful policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the short-term gain, and while it's prosperous for like a year later on, now we're going to have to pay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's too bad because it could have been avoided if they would have probably spent that time consulting with those farmers, ranchers, landowners, people downstream from the mountains, said, hey, we're thinking about this. You might even got more buy-in. But the more people look at it, the more research they do, the less they like it. And so it's really important to have those upfront conversations. I don't think we need to sneak things by voters. We don't need to sneak things by citizens. I think we should be upfront with them because I think collectively we make pretty good decisions. That's how our democracy works.
If you're just upfront with people, right, you won't have to, because the lie always comes out, or the truth always comes out. If you cover it with a lie, eventually it comes out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And can you tell me more about the municipal parties that they want to push out?
Yeah, we have a provincial system where there's political parties, and sometimes people don't love that way of decision making. Like, I'm a critic. My job, actually, when the government brings forward an idea, is to present arguments that show the challenges with maybe a legislative idea they have, and that creates this kind of debate system. And debate is important; it's healthy in discussions, but sometimes that's viewed as a lot of fighting. Whereas at the municipal government level, it's council of elected representatives that live in the community making a decision for their community. And that council decision making is actually great. In fact, in the Northwest Territories and Nunavut, they don't have political parties. They just have, for their provincial, they have councils making decisions. It's a different way of making decisions. And so the government brought in political parties. And there's a lot of objection to this across the province. I have not found people that really like this. And so we're seeing it in Calgary and Edmonton, in our two largest cities, in this municipal election. Calgary has a few political parties running, and Edmonton has a couple, and they're running against then independents. What I didn't like about this, I didn't like the idea of bringing parties in the first place. There's a couple examples of this. Vancouver has political parties, Montreal has political parties, and they don't have council decision making in those municipalities. And I think there's a lot of downside to not having council decision making. What I also didn't like here in this situation is that the province has made it so that if you are a political party, if you're running council or mayor on a political party, you can spend twice as much on your campaign as someone running independently. So they're giving a financial advantage to people that run for political parties, which that's just not fair. Like, that's not a fair democracy. So making sure we have a fair democracy is really important. It's being piloted in Edmonton and Calgary. I hope it's not successful. I hope that the political parties do not get any traction with the voters, and we can come back to the legislature, and in the future we can turn that legislation around and just say we're going to stick with our council decision making process in the province, because that's what I value.
Yeah, just keeping it as close as possible.
Yeah, and make sure, like, if there's 8 councillors and a mayor, like we have here, then that we hear voices from 8 different people, and they're not always voting with the party. They're not whipped into their vote. They're not always debating each other because they think it's their job to be critical of each other. They're just looking at the policy or the proposal or the land use decision, and they're making a good decision for their community. That's the best way to do it, I think, at the municipal level.
Yeah, sometimes when you butt heads, right, then you start to form these groups and they fight, right? Yeah. That's what you see in the US right now, right? And it's just, look at the policy and make sure, okay, what do we need to solve instead of just fighting all the time? Yeah. It's like you're spending so much energy just fighting instead of like helping the actual people.
That's right.
Yeah.
And absolutely. Good way to put it. Yeah. The job is to help people, serve your community. Yeah.
How can we encourage more citizens to participate and trust the municipal election process?
Well, it's trusting it. I think the democracy and the voting process is really well enforced, and it's a really good system. So I think participate. Go to the election forums where there's debate and discussion. You get to hear from the candidates on different issues that will happen in communities all across the province. And I know it's going to happen here in Sherwood Park. When they come to your door, answer the door. Have a discussion about them. Even if you were in the middle of cooking dinner, this might be your chance to talk to the person that is going to be making decisions for your community for the next 4 years. So think about those questions you might ask them if they come to your door, because they want to have those discussions. If you're a candidate and you're running, you actually want to have those discussions so you can present your ideas. And make sure, I think, you ask questions about we have discussions about sovereignty here in this province. Does this municipal candidate think that their job is to help Alberta separate from Canada? That's not their job. Maybe you want to know that ahead of time. Maybe they think that is their job, and it'd be good to know that that's not representing your views on the local municipal council.
Yeah, like everybody's got questions within their community at the provincial level, or within the community. Yeah, right. And if you just take the time to ask these people, when they're at your door, or when there's a town hall, or when there's one of those events, a debate, and you can go there and your frustrations can be deployed, then you actually have a voice.
Yeah.
So some people forget that, and you can actually be a part of the community, and you can chime in onto your dilemmas and what you're struggling with. Because if you're going through this dilemma of, okay, maybe you don't think the air quality is so good, or like the water, you notice that after you've been in Sherwood Park for 4 years now, you see that your family members are getting a lot more sick. Could there be a correlation to
Right.
this? Chances are you're not the only one thinking that. There's another person that you could collectively collaborate with, and you guys can work together to bounce off ideas with the leaders and with people in your community. And not only are you benefiting yourself, but you're benefiting your friends and family.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's tough like showing up there, right? Because we all got our responsibilities. The student, a father, a person that works in a business, and they have to have put in these 12-hour days, or been solar, right?
Yep.
But it doesn't take much to, just an hour a week or a couple hours, your research.
People, sometimes you might feel that the world is happening to you, but you are a participant in it, and so, if everybody's got a lot going on their own plate, if you want to put that expression in there, but you have an opportunity during an election to participate at the minimum with your vote, but you can step forward in other ways, and you can participate by talking to the candidates. You can even, if you really get supportive of one, you can volunteer for that candidate, talk to your friends and neighbors about it. People can even contribute financially to help them, pay for their signs and their other election expenses. So I think just knowing you're an active participant, and that's how our democracy works, and it matters. I think that's an important message to get out.
Awesome. And I know you're going back to you being a big advocate for education.
Yeah.
I'm going to touch up on investing in K-12.
Yeah.
Why do you believe in investing in K-12 education is one of the most important priorities for Alberta's future, when there's other things like healthcare or pensions? I know that's something that we talked about.
Yeah.
Why K-12?
Yeah, and I don't want to exclude 0 to 6, right? There was a time when, so in our system, and we've created in this province, if you have a baby that first year, there's employment insurance to sort of make sure that one of the parents has an opportunity to stay home with the kid for that critical 0 to 1. And then from 1 to 5, we kind of had an absence of any support or help in our system. And now we've got, affordable daycare, like $15 a day daycare, which if, some families are able to have, family members look after the little ones, but others, that having that ability to maybe have daycare at an affordable price, so it makes sense for you to work, people go for that. And other families are able to have a single income, and it works really well. But then we get into K-12, and so we're still on that development path to sort of being an adult, from 5 to sort of 18. And I think the learning you have in that period of time, that development, just making sure that we are, as a society, trying to raise ourselves up in the best way possible, is so important. And family and parents are involved all along the way, and community is involved all along the way. That education, we've talked about it earlier, but that gives you that ability to make sure you have a citizenry, the population of people, a community of people that have all the basic tools to be great citizens and, contribute and serve our community. And so it is the best investment we can make as a provincial government. If there's $1 we have, and we can look at, so we put it into healthcare, it's really important. We're probably going to put a lot of money into healthcare because we want to make sure we take care of each other. We can put it into policing. We want to make sure we do that because we have a need to make sure we have safety and security and enforcement in our province. We can build infrastructure, critical infrastructure, make sure we can move goods from from our province to other province for trade, or just move around our province, those are all important decisions. Recreation, all really valuable. But the best dollar we can ever spend and ever invest is going to be in educating our population, of our people.
And what areas of education funding or reform do you think are being overlooked right now?
Well, I think it's really a timely question because the teachers in this province, there's 51,000 of them are thinking about going on strike because they can't come to an agreement and get a contract with the province. And so I think the province needs to look at just some basic numbers. And across this country, per person, we are the wealthiest province in Canada. Right? Income levels in this province are the highest in Canada.
And we don't even have to pay for PST, right?
And we don't have any provincial sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
Our investment per student in our education system for K to 12 is the lowest in the country. So that's out of sync. We have the highest income levels in the country, and we're investing the least amount per student in our education system.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So I'm not an educational expert. There are educational experts and people that know what they call it pedagogy. They know the best way to help, run schools and for students to learn. And we have a lot of complex learners in this province, and we have a lot of complex classrooms, and we have classrooms of all varying sizes. My job is not to figure out necessarily what the best classroom format and dynamic is there. I need to listen to the experts, but I can just look at the simple numbers and know that if we're investing the least amount in this country, we're not investing enough. And so it's just a broad stroke. We need to invest more in education. And if the teachers are willing to walk off the job, which they love, and they've been preparing, through their own schooling and education to work in, it's a big deal. And we need to listen to them because they're crying out and saying, we're thinking about leaving the profession because the classrooms are so challenging in the publicly funded schools. We're pretty lucky in Sherwood Park. I think overall we're not at the breaking point, but there are schools, especially in our cities, that are at the breaking point. And so we need to listen as a government. Yeah. And we need to invest.
Yeah, many of my friends are teachers and they tell me these horror stories. And actually many of them don't want to come back, don't ever want to come back. And it's tough because these people are some people that I really look up to. They're very, very rooted in community and they have amazing values, very compassionate individuals. Yeah. But when you have a class of just 30 is the minimum and 60, up to 70, it gets crazy. And when you don't have any help within that classroom, not only do you have to facilitate order, but you also need to be a psychologist for when the troubled kids come in, or you also need to make sure that they're doing their homework and marking papers. A lot of these teachers have to stay after school or after hours, and they don't get paid for that. A lot of them also involve coaching and just being a part of events like graduation, right? And they work extremely hard. So we need to make sure we treat them fairly, compensate them for all the overtime. Yep. And make sure that we don't have these people leave the profession.
Well, and they're saying we need more educational assistants. They're saying, okay, well, maybe I can manage this class, but I need other adults in here to help so we can help make sure we have a good ratio of students to teacher or educational assistant. I mean, we had during the pandemic, if we go back to then, the province actually laid off all the educational assistants in the province, which blew me away. And I don't know that they've even hired them all back yet. And so we need to make sure we're having those supports and we have that good ratio of teachers to students, and that we can help lift up all the students.
Yeah. When I was going to school in Old St. Teresa, which is now the New Horizons, which is actually where my brother goes to.
Oh, right on.
Fantastic school.
It
Amazing.
is.
I maxed people in my class, max students, is like 30.
Yeah.
And then some years it was like 20, but it was very manageable. Like my teacher is very happy. There was even an educational assistant in in each of those classes.
Yeah.
The homeroom. And I just felt like, I was a bit of a, the trying to be funny kid, and like it was manageable because there'd be like, there's just enough bandwidth for the teacher, enough energy for them to sustain like 20, 30 kids in that classroom.
Yeah.
Right. I can't imagine now as a grown up, like double that.
Well, and you probably had a pretty good ratio of teacher to students or educational students. And then, but like to get us even up to average, so the province is talking about, hiring 3,000 more teachers over the next 3 years. And that is good, but that's probably about one more teacher per school in the province. And there's some schools in Sherwood Park to get us up to that average. If we were investing the Canadian average, we'd probably add like 11 more teachers to like a school like Davidson Creek. So Sherwood Heights probably might get like 13 more student teachers if we just lifted it up to the average. So we need more teachers, and we need as a province to recognize that that's actually good investment. That's good money, and that's a priority for everybody in this province.
Yeah, and if you think about it too, like these teachers are like second parents, right? To the kids, they're there 40 hours. The same way where when you're at work for 40 hours, like the people at work, they're your family essentially. And if you don't get along with your family, you're coming home to stress instead of just, and like I talk about this with my parents, and sometimes it can get really tumultuous at their work. It can get really, really dramatic sometimes. So when they come home, they expect a family that is caring for them, that is there for them, right? Yeah. But when you have a household where it is chaotic, right? Yeah. So both places, what does that do for a person's mind, to a child's mind? Yeah. Right? When they go to school, like a lot of kids in Sherwood Park, like I'd like to say, I like to assume, or based on what I've seen, like come from loving families. But there are kids that do experience neglect and abandonment issues, and there is abuse, right? So if you take that kid who is already troubled at home into a school that doesn't have the proper bandwidth, it doesn't have the proper resources, what does that do to the kid's mind?
It's a bad cycle.
It's a bad cycle. So there's no peace.
Yeah, you want that. You want schools to be a safe, welcoming place where the students can thrive and grow. And in that time that they're there, it's I mean, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be easy. Life's not perfect. Life's not easy. But you want it to be as safe and welcoming as possible so that students can thrive, make connections with each other, make connections with people in their community, and grow. And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the teacher-student relationship can't be facilitated when there's too many stresses, when there's too many kids, right? Same way where when you have too many friends, like the quality starts to go down because you just can't uphold that many relationships. Right. And I think they've had studies of, what is it, like 150 relationships is the maximum amount of relationships that you can uphold. And it could be subjective, right? Of like what does the relationship even mean? Is it like a cup of coffee, an hour a week? Yeah. Is it 2 hours a week? But let's just say it is an hour of cup of coffee. Like if you do that with each of your 150 relationships each week, like, is that doable? No, it is not. Yeah. Right. So that's even like very, very lenient on the subjective side of things, like 150 relationships. And when you have that, like a homeroom teacher, right, and they're teaching over 300 kids in various classes, like how can they check in on those kids when they're struggling? How can they actually fully be there when they're not there and they're
absolutely
when they're the ones that actually need to seek a therapist too because of all the turmoil,
right?
You know?
Yeah. How can they be strong enough to be a good resource for the kids? I mean, these are really good points to make. And so,
Yeah.
it's a really interesting time. We're at a very critical moment over the next few weeks as we in this province try and navigate this. But I really, want to encourage the provincial government to recognize this is one of those things that we need to invest in, because it's going to pay massive dividends for our province. It's a really important thing, and we can't just look at the current year on the price of oil and how much money we have right now. That's not. We have to be thinking about the next 20 years for our province, and the investment in education is going to give us that ability to be great now and great in the future.
Yeah. How can schools better support both academic and personal growth for students?
Well, so we're talking about the current situation. I think that's a really good question. I don't know if I know the answer to that one, in terms of the best way to support that. I do know that, coming back to that, treating each other well, making sure it's a safe environment for all students. People are very varied and different. And so you want to make sure that you can bring those differences to school and you feel welcome and safe there, and so I think that's a really important part about school. And then I always value extracurricular activities. And so if we can give the teachers the resources to, operate well in the classroom, then we'll have that energy to give back in extracurricular activities, whether it's for the drama club or the sports team or the student council. And those type of activities are going to be such a benefit for all the kids going through the school. So, I guess this comes back to the broad thing at a provincial level, more resources, so that then we can have that environment and that system of education that is going to help Albertans thrive.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned safety as well, because when you are a kid, sometimes things can be very, very scary. But if you have those guardians, like the teachers that have that are satisfied with their job, and when you got schools that are well funded, you are able to make mistakes, and that's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And what do you have to say to the people out there struggling? Because I'm sure everybody's affected, right? Yes, sure, there is a teacher strike, but these kids have parents, right? They're probably worrying about that too. I'm a student. The U of A, they're about to have a strike too if that goes through. What do you have to say to the people who are going through a tough time right now?
Yeah. Again, I come back to that kind of everyone's fighting a battle that I know nothing about. I think sometimes especially with the screen in our hand, the phone, we can try and get our connection through social media or other platforms like that. But if we can get our connection through other people, that is, I think, what we all need to focus and learn on. And it takes a lot of effort. But the opposite is you pull back, and you try to make it so just I don't want anybody knocking at my door. I don't want any flyers delivered to me. I don't want anybody phone calling me. I don't want anyone. And that isolation is really unhealthy. I think as a species, I don't think we've changed much over thousands of years. I think we are a social species. And I think we all have different levels. We have introverts and extroverts. We all get our energy level from sometimes connecting with other people. Sometimes we get our energy levels by pulling back a little bit, but we need to stay connected. And so if you're struggling, reaching out, that's important, because there are services, there are people, maybe it's in a faith community, maybe it is through social services from a government agency, maybe it's a nonprofit. There are ways to connect. Maybe it's your neighbor, maybe it's the person right across the hall, but finding those ways to connect, just taking that effort, taking that risk. Yeah, I want to encourage people to do that, because it usually pays off.
Yeah, it's scary, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah,
just talk to someone.
And maybe the answer is, if you fill somebody else's bucket up, maybe your bucket will be filled up too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And then, thank you so much for coming on the Long Term Podcast, Kyle.
My pleasure. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. What do you got planned for? I know you jam pack your schedule. And even just talking to your assistant. What's it called? You always got something on the go. Just bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. Tomorrow we're going to get ready for the food drive in Sherwood Park in Strathcona County. I know that's happening in Edmonton. We got read-in week coming up, which I know we'll be going to schools and reading with elementary and junior high students, and that's always a lot of fun. And then we're getting ready to go back into the legislature for what we call the fall sitting, and so there'll be a new speech from the throne, and so that's going to be interesting. And saying the government will set new direction for where they want to go with the legislature, and we got to pay attention to things like the discussions around pulling out of the Canada Pension Plan and changing the police force. I think we get ready for the fall legislature. So I'm going to be looking for ways that I can, in that case, I'm going to be working on ways to make sure that we, try and get corruption out of government a little bit. That's going to be my focus this fall, in addition to all the other topics that we've been working on. So,
and if people want to come and find you or to reach out to you, where can they reach you at?
Yeah, well, we got a couple of websites. Like I think you can still reach me at meetkyle.ca, meetkyle.ca. Also kylekasawski.ca if you can spell it. And just look me up on Google. Let's see what can happen. But I'm on all the social media platforms, and DM me or send a message to my office, and it'd be great to connect.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love to hear from people in Sherwood Park and all across the province.
Awesome. And as always, to everyone listening and watching, there is a place for you in this chaotic world. Never lose hope, strengthen your faith, and keep it long term. Kyle Kasawski, everyone. Peace. That's it.
So cool.
Awesome.